Hey, I'm Jesse. Let's have a devotion. We're going to look at one verse today, but I do have a cross reference from Exodus for you. Today's text is Revelation 16:3. This is the second of the 7 bowls of wrath. The second poured out his bowl into the sea. It turned to blood like that of a dead person, and all life in the sea died. That's it. That's the second bowl of God's wrath. And it's concise and it's devastating. I mean, just try to imagine the effects this would have. Try to imagine the smell. Here's the Old Testament precursor to this. This is from Exodus 7:20-25. Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded. In the sight of Pharaoh and his officials, he raised his staff and struck the water in the Nile, and all the water in the Nile was turned to blood. The fish in the Nile died, and the river smelled so bad the Egyptians could not drink water from it. There was blood throughout the land of Egypt. But the magicians of Egypt did the same thing by their occult practices. So Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he would not listen to them, as the Lord had said. Pharaoh turned around, went into his palace, and didn't take even this to heart. All the Egyptians dug around the Nile for water to drink because they could not drink the water from the river. 7 days passed after the Lord struck the Nile. Look at how, in the face of irrevocable, irrefutable, ungainsayable proof that Yahweh is God, they just turn right around and lie to themselves. And the magicians try to replicate it. It says they did the same thing by their occult practices. And so whether this is some real alchemy in a materialist sense, or just like some trick, an illusion, or even if they really did by some demonic power do the same thing, first of all, they're not helping. They just wasted more good water, for one thing. Also, it doesn't actually help when you try to say, I can do that too. You're doing it on a smaller scale each time you do it. And if anything, you're attempting and failing to show yourself as a match. That takes some serious hard-heartedness, because they were drinking the same water too, man. They were dehydrated too. But it worked, and Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he wouldn't listen. Right? Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he wouldn't listen. And then look at what the text says. It was as the Lord said. God was well aware of how all this would go down. He knew that the Egyptians, perhaps Jannes and Jambres, see Paul's letters, would harden Pharaoh's heart, and they'd be, look, see that? There's nothing special about God. There's nothing to fear here. We can do the same thing. But here's the other funny thing. It would have been actually helpful for the Egyptians if they could undo what God did. But they couldn't undo any of it. And again, they just made things worse. So these people are deeply afflicted. The smell is unbearable. The text says that in Revelation, in the second bowl of wrath, that the sea would be turned to blood like that of a dead person. The blood of a dead person, you can't use it, the way that you can a living person. It's not blood that could even give life. It's blood that, in fact, kills all the life in the sea. Entire industries would be upended by this. One of my favorite shows of the late aughts that I think only lasted a season or two is called Better Off Ted. And they come up with a cure for baldness in this laboratory. And they're thinking about it. They're like, this is the cure for baldness. And then one of the scientists says, this would cure baldness, but it would also kill all the world's fish. And they're all kind of looking at it. And then this one character in the background, she's sort of like the conscience of the group. She's like, what? No, we're not doing this, right? But they thought about it for a minute. Like, and they're probably thinking like, oh, this would yield a lot of money, but it would kill all the world's fish. You can't recover from that. You can't recoup that. Only God himself can make everything new, and he will. He will. What's also interesting to note is that there's no longer any sea when everything's made new. As an avid surfer, I got to struggle with that. Like I gotta know that like maybe somewhere out there the Lord has another place for me to surf. But God is pouring out this bowl into the sea. It turns it into blood like that of a dead person. All the life in the sea died. This was not random. This is not going to be an arbitrary moment. This is God doing the same things that he's done before. He did it on a microcosmic scale just over the land of Egypt, but he's going to do this globally as he pours out his wrath. This second bowl is reminiscent of the plagues of Egypt. The plagues of Egypt were brought on by hard-heartedness. Rather than turning even in the face of the outpouring of the first water to blood plague, they try to replicate it themselves. And it totally proves that they utterly missed the point of this thing. When you and I read this text, we're reading a prophetic warning about what God is going to do. Like the Egyptians, we have been warned. And God, like in the case of the Egyptians, knows who's going to believe and who is not. Right? The Lord knows everyone who's going to believe in him, and he knows everyone. Look, as the Lord had said, he knows that he knew that Pharaoh wouldn't listen, and he knows that certain people won't listen. So if you're listening now, consider what you have in common with Pharaoh and the opportunity that you have that Pharaoh let slip by. Pharaoh, too, was warned about a coming plague in which the water would be turned to blood. Pharaoh, however, listened to his idiot Janus and Jambres magicians while they did nothing to help, actually made it a little bit worse, and then themselves ultimately would be afflicted with a plague of sores, as was the case in the first bowl of wrath, and then they couldn't stand by him anymore. All right, the whole world is hard-hearted. They demand signs and wonders. When they finally get them, they worship the devil, but they see signs and wonders like these that are from God, and they don't believe them. This is the warning. This is what's coming. When you look at Exodus 7:20-25, you just want to reach through the pages and then shake Pharaoh by the shoulders and be like, don't listen to the pagan idiots. Listen to the man of God. Likewise, this is your moment. This is your chance. All right, here it is, the second bowl poured out into the sea. It turned to blood like that of a dead person, and all life in the sea died. May you never be here to smell it, because you adhere to the purpose of its warning that is recorded in the book of Revelation. It's been here for 2,000 years. No one can say they weren't warned. Least of all you now, because here you are, still tuned into a devotion on a single verse of the Bible. Repent today, confess Jesus as Lord today, and then you will never drink a drop of the wrath of God poured from the first or second bowls.